All right, now we always want to quickly start off with some of our recently posted content from last week's discussions. 2 weeks ago, we had the discussion on choosing the best strike price for an optimal naked cash secured put. We then also covered the topic last week on selling a call against the married put position, income method number 1. We're going to see an example of that in a different format real soon. The risks of too little risk, the improper structure of a married put position. And we talked about standard collar adjustments when you buy the stock and sell a 1 month out of the money call and buy a 1 month out of the money put for still a credit. And we talked about ways you might look to manage that position if the stock moves up, goes down, or stays stagnant, for example. You can check those out on YouTube. They're all public videos. You can also search on YouTube, of course, to find other videos related to a topic that applies to you. Call buying management, long call management, diagonal spread management, poor man's covered calls. Just use the magnifying glass, run that search. You'll see a variety of different videos. We also have a fair amount, 7 to 8, I believe, playlists set up with 8 to 9 videos in each one related to different strategies, debit spreads, credit spreads, covered calls, naked puts, calendar spreads, as I mentioned, just buying calls, buying puts, earnings discussions. So there's a lot of playlists there that you can go through if you're just starting to research a new strategy also. Okay, we'll start here with Alfonso. It was the first question. Amin has a longer question. It's a involved question that we're going to have to take a look at here, but that's perfectly fine, Amin. That's why we're here. Alfonso says, how often are the default settings for PowerOptions strategy searches checked for viability? My best answer in the most popular strategies, I'm not going to say all strategies, Alfonso, the more popular strategies that are used by our subscribers is every 2.5 to 3 months. Okay, and how do I know that? It's because I kind of do it. During these sessions, Alfonso, we get a lot of questions about, hey, I was doing the picks of the day, naked put weekly or monthly, and I had some good success, but I had one drop. What is the viability or what has the success rate been over the past 3 or 4 months? So what I'll do is I'll actually go back into the back testing tools here. And let's see, I'll start in August. Now, this is a trial, this webinar account that we use, William Adama's account. It's a trial account, so you only see the last 3 months or so, Alfonso, of the backtesting data. The full backtesting data goes back about 5.5 years into 2017 right now. So in any case, we'll go back to August. I think August 29th is the first date available. And we'll go into the weekly picks of the day. We know September kind of was iffy at best. So let's just see. Now, I do apologize for the timing, Alfonso. What's going to happen here? Oh, it wasn't as bad as I thought. The next one's going to take longer. What's happening right now is we're uploading all the historical data into the tables. So when we interact with the history during this time of the webinar, it tends to be a little slower and lag a little bit more than usual. Now, here are these results here. We're going to go ahead and calculate group results. And I'm going to go back to this screen. Let's see what we had here. I can see some dangerous ones already in here. Bed Bath & Beyond, we know, went up and down all over the place. Apache was still looking pretty good at this time. I think Plug was still too. Snowflake, I think, had a hit somewhere in September. Well, every stock had a hit somewhere in September. So what it's doing now is it's calculating the group results, the top 15 that match the criteria. Of course, we were sorting these by highest percentage naked yield. So although there were 89 total trades at the close of day on August 29th, these are just the top 15 sorted by percentage yield for that criteria. Yeah, there it is. Bed Bath & Beyond. Even if it appears in the list, I'll say to you honestly, Alfonso, I am never touching one of the Reddit stocks one way or the other. That's me personally. I've missed out on a lot of profits, but at the same time, we take that out. I mean, the success rate was only 40% here, but you take out that big loss of 19.3%, still right only about 50% of the time in this case. Yeah, but the loss would have only been probably around 0.6 or 0.7%. Okay, now, taking a look at this, and we say, okay, so Mike has a loss here, and then I'd run it the next week and run it the next week. We actually use a different tool, Alfonso, in the background to do it more quickly. where we tell the system, run this search criteria over this time, put in a stop of 7%. If the stock falls 7%, liquidate the position and run it over a 3-month period. Now, again, as I mentioned, of course, this was the first week, Alfonso, of September, last week of September, first week of August. And of course, as we know here, let's scroll down, there's September here. So it was just about during this time frame, first 5 or 6 days. So things weren't looking too good. The next week we might see really good, and then the next week might be really bad. It's not that the criteria need to be adjusted in these sort of circumstances. What more likely needs to be adjusted is the fact of trading a naked put position, covered call, during this cycle. You have to move with the market. We had a presentation on that a little while ago. We were talking about is a 3% profit per month possible. And we looked at how you need to move with the market and maybe switch strategies when you're in more of a bearish tone. And when you get back into more of a bullish tone, you want to switch out of those bearish strategies, maybe bear put debits, bear calls, or if you were being bold and doing the covered puts, shorting the stock and selling the put, of course. So where I'm going with this is why about every 2.5 and 3 months, Alfonso, I go back and check the different preferred searches in the various preferred strategies. Preferred strategies right now are, ought to say, the most common, Alfonso, that are typically used. And that's going to be covered calls, of course, as always, naked puts, collars and married puts. It's not in this order. I think it is naked puts and covered calls are 1 and 2 in some combination. Then you typically see bull put credit spreads, then maybe a debit spread, bull call debit spread, maybe bear put depending on market conditions, then probably married put and collar, then probably iron condor. And yeah, okay, before iron condor, I apologize, Alfonso, it's probably some version of long call or long put, just buying a call or buying a put. Then probably condors, then maybe a long straddle or a long strangle. And calendar puts are in there somewhere. I think they're above straddles and strangles, if I'm not mistaken. I'll check that out for you before I post this webinar. I'll see what our percentages are for usage over the past couple of months. So, yes, we do go back and do that. And from time to time, I haven't finished this one recently. I haven't finished one I started 8 months ago, but now is probably a perfect time to do it. For the blueprint owners, radioactive traders, I've put together 1 or 2 videos in the past of trust the search results, where I take our preferred criteria that we have listed here that's discussed in the blueprint, the radioactive sorted by earnings per share growth. I keep the same structure for the option. Hey, we want to be at least 150 days out in time, keep risk to single digits, don't go too deep in the money, enforcing the 3 core principles we mentioned. But then we'll change it to different stocks. We'll use more fundamental indicators instead of a stock list. Screen against MACD, Bollinger Band breakouts, and other technicals. We'll screen just against S&P 500 stock, NASDAQ 100 stocks with the same structure that we're seeing here as far as the married put combination goes. And the 3 times, I've done that. And we usually post it on Blueprint Owners Only or Fusion Members Only webinars. This list, the stock performance in this list outperforms trying to do other technicals. I can't do all technicals, but try my best. Doing other versions of just S&P 500 stocks, NASDAQ 100 stocks, and those, what are some of the other lists? Value Line as well, some of the lists that we have in here. I didn't use the Motley Fool, of course. So anyway, we always see better underlying stock performance with the list we're using as opposed to those other ones. Ernie did the picks of the day, the weekly picks of the day and the monthly picks of the day. I actually went back and tried to tweak some of these and toggle some of these when the market started to turn in January, because we knew they weren't performing well. But of the variety of different covered call criteria, naked put criteria, the monthly covered calls still held up okay. The monthly naked puts still held okay. The weeklies were tough because the market was bouncing around in each direction. You're taking big losses one week, 50% wins the next week. I tried to do multiple things and make suggestions of how we might change it, but then when we went back and tested it for previous years, the performance was terrible. It was telling us that the market conditions weren't right for those strategies, and that's why at the beginning of the year, you go back and look at some of our January videos and more, we started talking about bear put debit spreads, strangles on ETFs and indexes, different things of that nature, shifting away from the more common strategies, because a lot of questions that were coming in on the Friday presentation were, I'm down 25% on my Amazon naked put. How can I manage it? I'm down 23% on this covered call position. I've rolled it twice and it's just kept increasing. How can I do better? And it wasn't so much about what they were doing. It wasn't so much about the criteria that they were. Some of it was ours, some of it was their own. It wasn't too much about the management techniques. They had management techniques in place and they were using them appropriately. What it came down to, it just wasn't the right market for that type of strategy. So we do test them. We do tweak things occasionally. I've had to tweak the iron condors several times. Let's see if it happens this time. Okay, it didn't. So sometimes when I run this search in more volatile markets, it tells me there are way too many results. It found over 600 results and I need to trim the criteria. So I've got to jump in and start making edits because it's not worth it to have a search that's showing too many results where you can't get anything back. So tweaks are made. Depends on market conditions and what shifts. But in general, a grand major change, Alfonso, is not undertaken because we don't just compare it to what's going on in the current market. When I look at a bullish, neutral to bullish strategy, even in the money covered calls or in the money naked puts in a 3-month or 2.5-month bearish cycle, well, it's not so much about changing the criteria as it is moving with the market and changing the strategy itself. Okay? But we do check them out. And I do go through that in that case. All right. So just to review that. And give you some insight as to what's going on in the background there, what we do, what we can do, and what we've looked forward to doing. And again, it's not consistent. We don't do it every single time. Again, we don't do it every single month or every single market change, but different markets do require that we go in and take a look. And we will make adjustments if needed and if necessary, but oftentimes to work consistently in all markets, not that many tweaks or not that many changes are made. And sometimes we will create just a new search based on market conditions in that case as well. Just wanted to remind everyone that today's material are my thoughts on your questions, designed for educational purposes, increasing investing performance and options knowledge. Any stocks or options discussed today should not be taken as recommendations or direct trading suggestions. Options involve risk and may not be suitable for all investors. We had a great chance to look at some of the tools today. We took a look at the search functions. We didn't look at the criteria, but we talked about how we might use that, how we do test the criteria. We showed some of the tools to do that. The strategy optimization is actually a separate product that we can do a one-off test for you for $50 as well. It's under one of the products there, but then there's a full one. We'll talk about that when I post the end of the clipped webinar for Alfonso's discussion. But we did go through the search. We took a look at the stock repair tool, which is very powerful. We looked at some of the other tools, including the research tools, to see that implied volatility range. And I just wanted to mention that if you like the tools that you saw, of course, you can take a 14-day free trial at any time. Just go to PowerOp.com, put in your name and email address, no credit card required, and you'll have full use of the site for 14 days. After that, subscriptions just start at only $45 per month for the end of day data. So all of the data in the search is only updated at the end of the day. But most popular service is the delayed service. It's about 15-minute delayed or so, 12 to 15 minutes delayed. That's only $65 per month. An upgrade from that where you get everything on the delayed service, but full access to the historical, excuse me, folks, is only $100 per month. You can cancel at any time. There's no contractual obligation. Free coaching is available on all levels of subscription, and you can also upgrade at any time and full access to all of the archived webinars. Trial members don't see all of the webinars that are listed there. The top 5 and some of the different ones are restricted only to subscribers, but trial members still have a vast array of webinars they can access, just not the most recent ones. But you can get those at any time by going to the free webinars. I'm really sorry, folks. You probably heard me pouring a little bit more cranberry juice there. It's just something is in my throat that's starting to cause me to fall off here. All right, but you can look at the archive webinars at any time, or as we did, go to the YouTube channel, look through the videos, use the search there, and you can find videos pertaining to your particular topics. And of course, I didn't see any other questions come in, but Kip did say, thanks for another great session, Mike. Have a fun and safe Halloween. Thank you, Kip, you too. Usually we have some fun slides that are Halloween based during this discussion. The last open discussion before Halloween. I actually saw one of those there when we were doing a search on the YouTube channel. In any case, if you think of any questions later on, thank you, Kip, and I hope you have a safe Halloween as well and a fun weekend with your family also. But since no other questions came in, if you think of another question, send us an email at any time to support@powerop.com or support@radioactivetrading.com. You can also call us during market hours at 302-992-7971. And of course, trial members and subscribers, you can access the free coaching sessions and schedule one of those at any time.